There are moments in life when you walk into a room and something just feels off. You don't know exactly what it is, but you can sense it. The way people avoid eye contact, the way the energy shifts ever so subtly when you enter. Maybe it's a polite but distant smile, or perhaps you're met with complete silence. Whatever it is, you start to feel it. Something about the way you show up is causing people to look down on you. Even if no one says it out loud, you can feel the judgment. The hard truth is this: sometimes it's not about who you are, but the habits you carry with you. The small, seemingly insignificant things you do or say that slowly push people away. It's easy to get caught up in patterns that make you your own worst enemy, without realizing that they're sabotaging your relationships and reputation. But the good news? We can change. And as the Stoics teach us, change starts with self-awareness. Today, we're diving into 7 common habits that make people look down on you and how Stoic philosophy can help you break free from them. This isn't about achieving perfection. It's about making progress. And if you're ready to grow, this is for you. So what are these habits that are causing people to lose respect for you? Let's break it down. 1. Gossiping. Destroying trust in the name of connection. Let's face it, we've all been there. It's almost a reflex. The urge to share the latest gossip, to talk about someone else's drama. At first it might seem harmless, just a way to bond, a way to connect with others. But what we often fail to realize is that gossip is a double-edged sword. Sure, it might create a momentary sense of camaraderie, but at the same time, it builds walls around you. Every time you gossip, people start to wonder if they're talking about others when they're not around. What do they say about me when I'm not here? The problem isn't just with the people you gossip about, it's with everyone. Gossip erodes trust. It makes people question your loyalty and your integrity. And once that trust is gone, so is the genuine connection. I used to think that gossip made me more relatable. It was an easy way to bond with others, a way to break the ice and fit in. But over time, I realized that gossip only kept conversations shallow. People wouldn't open up to me or share anything personal because they knew that if they weren't around, I'd likely be sharing their secrets too. The friendships I thought I was building were, in reality, fragile. So, what does Stoicism say about gossip? The Stoics teach us to focus on what's within our control, our actions, our words, our responses. Gossip is the complete opposite of that. It's a waste of energy spent on things that don't serve us. When we gossip, we're not building trust, we're dismantling it. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Instead of worrying about what others are doing wrong, we should focus on improving ourselves. Next time someone starts gossiping around you, remember that you have a choice. You can either participate and lower your own value, or you can step away and elevate yourself. Trust me, when you stop gossiping, you'll begin to see that people start respecting you more. They'll know that they can trust you, that you're focused on what matters. Not others' flaws, but your own self-improvement. 2. Passive aggression, the silent killer of relationships. It happens to the best of us. That feeling when you're asked to do something and you say, "Sure, I'll do it," but inside you're stewing with resentment. Or when someone asks how you're doing and you say, "I'm fine," but everything inside you is screaming that you're not. At first, passive aggression might seem like a clever way to avoid confrontation. It feels like you're keeping the peace, like you're avoiding direct conflict while still expressing your frustration. But in reality, passive-aggressive behavior is a toxic and ineffective way of communicating. It leaves everyone confused, frustrated, and unable to address the real issues at hand. I used to think that being passive-aggressive was smart. Why argue directly when you can just make someone feel bad without actually confronting them? But here's the truth. Nobody is a mind reader, and even if they are, they'll probably choose to ignore your passive-aggressive cues. It's exhausting to live in that kind of tension, and it gets you nowhere. Instead of solving the problem, you just make it worse. So what's the Stoic take on this? The Stoics were big on honesty and clear communication. They understood that in order to live in harmony with others, you need to speak the truth. Marcus Aurelius, for example, believed that we should speak clearly and without pretense, even when it's uncomfortable. When you're passive-aggressive, you're hiding your real feelings and creating unnecessary tension. It's a waste of energy, and it damages your relationships. Next time you're tempted to be passive-aggressive, remember this: honesty is a virtue. Speak your truth directly without trying to manipulate the situation. It takes courage, but it will earn you the respect of others. People will appreciate your clarity and your willingness to face challenges head-on. 3. Complaining, dwelling on the negative. We all do it. The constant stream of complaints about everything that's wrong in our lives, our jobs, our relationships, the weather, politics. It feels cathartic at first, like you're venting, like you're getting things off your chest. But the problem is, complaining doesn't solve anything. It only makes you more frustrated and turns you into a magnet for negativity. I used to complain about everything, and at first, it felt good. It was an easy way to bond with others. But over time, I realized that the more I complained, the more I became consumed by negativity. It felt like I was stuck in a cycle of dissatisfaction that I couldn't escape. What would the Stoics say? Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught us that external circumstances don't determine our happiness. Our reactions to them do. Complaining about things you can't control is a waste of mental energy. Instead, focus on what you can control, your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Rather than focusing on what's wrong, focus on how you can improve things, how you can respond in a way that aligns with your values. If you want to stop complaining, shift your focus. Practice gratitude. Look for opportunities to learn and grow, even in difficult situations. When you start focusing on the positive, you'll be amazed at how your outlook and the way others perceive you changes. You'll become someone who finds solutions, not just problems. 4. Blaming others. The victim mentality. Blame is a seductive habit. It's so easy to point the finger when things go wrong, isn't it? Whether it's the economy, your boss, your partner, or just bad luck. Blaming someone or something external feels like a way to avoid taking responsibility. In the short term, it might make you feel better, as if you're not to blame for your current situation. But in the long run, this habit can destroy your self-respect and erode others' respect for you. I've been guilty of this myself. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that external forces are responsible for your troubles. Maybe a colleague doesn't pull their weight on a project, or a friend lets you down, and you start telling yourself, if only they had done this differently, things would have turned out better. I used to do this frequently, and it kept me stuck in a cycle of frustration and helplessness. I was giving my power away by constantly blaming others, instead of looking at what I could change in my own actions. So what do the Stoics have to say about blaming others? Epictetus, one of the core Stoic philosophers, taught that we should never blame external circumstances for our misfortunes. According to him, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If someone does something wrong, you can't control their behavior, but you can always control your response to it. The Stoics understood that blaming others only wastes time and energy that could be used to reflect on how we can improve. Instead of blaming others, Stoic wisdom encourages us to shift our focus to what we can control: our own thoughts, actions, and emotions. If something goes wrong, the real question is, what can I learn from this? How can I change my behavior to avoid this situation in the future? The more you take responsibility for your own role in any given circumstance, being self-centered. The ego trap. Have you ever found yourself talking incessantly about your achievements, your problems, your goals, and your feelings, without ever stopping to ask how others are doing? It's easy to get caught up in your own world, especially when life feels overwhelming or when you want to make sure people know your worth. But constantly focusing on yourself can create a barrier between you and those around you. It can make you come across as egotistical, shallow, or disconnected from others' needs. I used to be guilty of this. In conversations, I would talk about myself almost exclusively, because I was worried people wouldn't value me unless they knew everything I was doing. It was as if I had to prove something. But over time, I realized that when you're too wrapped up in your own narrative, you forget to pay attention to the stories and struggles of those around you. People start to feel like they're just an audience to your performance, rather than equal participants in a shared experience. So, what does Stoicism offer in this case? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, often wrote about humility and the importance of recognizing that we are all part of a greater whole. He reminded himself that his role in life wasn't to focus only on his own ego, but to serve the greater good. You have been a citizen in this great city. What does it matter to you whether for 5 or 50 years? For what is, according to nature, is equal for all. The Stoics believed that by focusing on the collective good, we find deeper meaning in life, and we create more genuine connections with others. Instead of constantly talking about yourself, try to shift the focus in conversations. Ask others about their experiences, their joys, and their struggles. Listen with genuine interest, and you'll start to see that people not only respect you more, but they also open up in ways they might not have before. By showing interest in others, you demonstrate a level of self-awareness and humility that is far more attractive than any personal accomplishment. Remember, when you stop making everything about you, you create space for others to be seen and heard. This shift will not only make your relationships more meaningful, but it will also make you more relatable, because people will appreciate that you value them as individuals, not just as background characters in your own story. 6. Procrastination, the killer of opportunity. We've all been there, putting things off, telling ourselves, "I'll get to it later," when deep down we know that the longer we delay, the more the pressure mounts. Procrastination often feels like a comfort, a way of avoiding something difficult or stressful. But in the long run, it's a thief. It steals not just time, but opportunity. For years, I procrastinated on important projects, whether at work, with personal goals, or even with relationships. I told myself that I would get to things when I felt ready, but often I never felt ready. I'd look back and see how many opportunities I missed simply because I couldn't summon the discipline to act in the moment. What would the Stoics say about procrastination? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, famously wrote in his letters about the fleeting nature of time. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Seneca's point is that time is the one thing we can never get back. And when we procrastinate, we're essentially wasting it. The Stoics valued action and the disciplined pursuit of their goals. Instead of delaying, they focused on doing what was necessary in the present moment. Procrastination is often rooted in fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success. But the Stoic approach is to acknowledge that fear and proceed anyway. Rather than waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect conditions, the Stoics taught that we should focus on what's within our control, our effort, and our choices. The key is 7. Lack of boundaries. The people pleaser trap. If you're constantly saying yes to others, even when it means compromising your own needs, you're likely caught in the trap of people pleasing. It's tempting to want everyone to like you, to avoid conflict, or to be seen as helpful and generous. But when you don't set boundaries, you end up overcommitting and spreading yourself too thin. Eventually, you'll burn out, and worse, people may begin to take your willingness to please for granted. I've been there. I used to feel guilty saying no. I didn't want to let people down, and I thought that if I kept saying yes, I would be liked or appreciated more. But in the end, I ended up feeling resentful and exhausted, and the relationships I tried to nurture became strained. I had given so much of myself to others that there was nothing left for me. So, what do the Stoics have to say about boundaries? Epictetus reminds us that we can't be responsible for other people's happiness, and we shouldn't sacrifice our well-being to please others. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoics emphasize the importance of understanding what's truly within our control and being able to assert our boundaries. When we say yes to everything, we lose control over our own time, energy, and peace of mind. But when we set healthy boundaries, we create the space necessary for growth, balance, and inner peace. If you're struggling with people-pleasing, try this. The next time someone asks you for something that doesn't align with your priorities, practice saying no. It doesn't have to be harsh or rude. It can be as simple as, "I'm unable to do that right now." Setting boundaries isn't about being selfish. It's about preserving your energy and ensuring that you can show up fully for the things that truly matter to you. When you start setting healthy boundaries, you'll find that people respect you more. Not because you're always saying yes, but because you are showing up as someone who respects themselves and their own needs. Conclusion: the path to change. Breaking free from these 7 habits: gossiping, passive aggression, complaining, blaming others, being self-centered, procrastinating, and lacking boundaries, isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware of the patterns that no longer serve you and making small, deliberate changes. It's about understanding that our actions, words, and behaviors shape how others see us, and most importantly, how we see ourselves. The Stoics teach us that true respect comes from within.